Hi, Nikki.
Hi, how are you?
Who are you?
Good. Sorry, it was a little complicated to hop on.
Digital meetings aren't easy.
I know, exactly. I'm really looking forward to learning more. I'm always curious about just everyone's entrepreneurial journey and also just during this time, I think it's just a perfect time to talk to someone like you because there's so many brands out there that are obviously affected with with everything going on right now. And obviously everyone's hustling, trying to pivot and strategize. And I think it's super fun to talk to a brand and a company like yours and see what you guys are doing during this time to stay on track. And obviously, maybe you're pivoting, maybe it didn't affect your strategy, but it'll be interesting to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, I think everyone's pivoting and trying to find their center of balance and just the right tone. It's a hard time, so I think yeah, happy to and love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, so let's first start with your background. So, what got you into business? Tell us more about that, and what was your early career like?
Look, for me, my early career, I don't have the more formalized pedigree that some entrepreneurs have. I have just a churning passion and desire to want to do something positive and legacy making, and where I believe is in service of others and certainly in service of the earth. We are Earth Day, it's the
Mm-hmm.
50th anniversary. I'm an environmental sciences tested or educated and passionate believer in all things how the human body elegantly connects to and sometimes collides with the natural world. And so I've always worked to uplift and unlock and really add the level of education and context that people would need to understand how do I care for myself, the earth, others. And my early in my career, I always was led by a passion that was hard to articulate at that point, but I always, my father used to always say, just do what you love and do it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed some of that advice throughout the entirety of my career to just um, always remind myself that it's the passion that really gets you through the hard times, certainly what we're experiencing right now. And it's the passion that draws people in. And it's certainly, you've got to add the level of rigor and education and strategy and all the brand and business fundamentals, the nuts and bolts, if you will. But there's a great X factor in all people's lives, and it's really that spirit and that drive and that purposeful intent that people get really attracted to.
Yeah.
So, can you recruit good talent? Can you find good customers? Can you really showcase your point of view in a way where people are attracted to want to join you and participate? And I've been fortunate enough to try to unlock and do that throughout the entirety of my career, and it's been really fun.
Did you start with Honest, or what were you doing before that?
No, my early in my career, I went back to school after I got my bachelor's and almost my master's in environmental sciences and science. And
So that's where
I went back
nature part of things come in.
the nature part of things, yes.
Okay.
And then I went back to school and did a lot of graduate work in behavioral psychology because I was uniquely interested in how people receive information, how important the communication and relationship is in life, and what are some of those triggers and ways and methodologies that you can connect with and commune with people in getting them to change their behavior. Behavioral change is so hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're all struggling with. What's the self-awareness? What's the self-discipline? And that's the practice, right? It's not a struggle, it's a practice. And I was uniquely interested in that. And then I started a few brands along the way. One was Pinnacle Expeditions, taking kids out into the wilderness of California, and less of a therapeutic setting and more of a relationship and adventure setting. And then I parlayed that into overseeing and being the executive director and CEO of a nonprofit called Healthy Child, Healthy World.
Wow.
And this was an organization whose charter and mission was to gather the science, gather the data, gather the research, which I love, and particularly how that science, how that data, and how that discovery and research was particularly trying to investigate the ways it impacts the human body.
Mm-hmm.
So certain toxicants, certain chemicals, certain ingredients of concern, certainly in everyday products. The inspiration was from the very unfortunate death of a young girl named Colette Chuda. And she got Wilms tumor, which is a form of cancer, at the age of 5. And her parents were like, what in the world? How? Why? And as any parent would do, went on a passionate seeking mission to find the reason why. And in particular, to her case, it was directly linked to a maternal extreme exposure to an insecticide. Wow. And so there's a lot of science and research in academia and medicine that is talking about the world of what's in my lipstick, what's in my mattress, what's in my household cleaner. And this is early 2000s when the data was being done, but doctors weren't talking about it. NGOs were beating a drum, but it wasn't popularized. It wasn't concise. It wasn't clear. And so that our job as awareness experts were to package and add the right amount of inspiration and certainly the rigor and education to help people understand. And that work, which I did for almost 7 years. I wrote a book by the same name, Healthy Child, Healthy World. That's where I met my business partner, Jessica Alba, at that book launch party. But she was like every other mom in the entirety of the world was, and every other parent, quite frankly, was this concept of, okay, you've alerted me, you've alarmed me, you've educated me on what could be possibly inside, because brands aren't the guardians of the gate, and they're not the regulators. And the regulators aren't there in Washington and or in state capitals. They're not doing the prevention work. So brands need to do it. And so moms and dads around the country would say, around the globe, would say, tell me what to buy. Please tell me what to buy. How do I navigate a marketplace that might be fairly dirty and unsafe? Mm-hmm. And so this is early days, and certainly the naturals movement and the clean movement and the world of how do we build more conscious, responsible, pure, less toxic product. Mm-hmm. It's going on our bodies. It's going in our bodies. If it's going on your skin, it's going inside your body.
Yeah. And
so that work at Honest was incredibly fulfilling because we were a master brand. We still are a master brand that helped people outsource their trust to one place, one source, one trusted set of standards with the rigor on human health and also the environment and being responsible, being sustainable, being minded in those areas. But the first priority, because again, flashback to behavioral psychology, people are most motivated by the protection and selfish realities. Mm-hmm. How does it impact me? Mm-hmm. And that's been a beautiful shift in the environmental movement and all things, how we perceive the globe and Earth is you first have to understand that we are self-involved, self-absorbed animals. And that's just our natural way. That's our lizard brain. That's our most native state. But once you appeal and can give the sensibility of safety and security and trust to that most basic primitive self. So I'm going to act on behalf of me and my children and my home. Then you will also, how does this also impact the globe or their legacy or how we inherit the globe? And as that beautiful Native American concept is, we are inheriting the globe and we are leveraging and using the globe and using the natural resources on behalf of future generations, 7 generations, in fact. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be thoughtful in that legacy making piece. So that's a long answer to a very simple question.
I loved it.
But I wanted to give you some broader context, especially as it's such a relevant day for me mm-hmm. and my family and this business and all things I've done over the course of my career. Sitting here on Earth Day is a really powerful one.
Mm-hmm. How are you relaying the message to your children?
It's interesting. I woke up. I mean, they know I am am a passionate protector and champion of all things in that arena. And so I was thinking about what's the way that I can inspire them. And it was it through some quotes or the people who have inspired me or the things. And so I thought about a little bit of that, but mostly it is in a most basic state. They need to be outdoors in a world where we're sitting in a time of COVID and locked up, or not locked up, but staying at home somewhat. We have to, they need to commune and connect with nature. Richard Louv, who wrote this, who's written many books on this, particularly to children, he calls it vitamin N, which stands for nature. He wrote a phenomenally seminal book called The Last Child in the Woods. And that was most formative to me, if I have to be incredibly candid, is I was a kid that would I grew up in a family in New York and Connecticut, and 4 boys, and my mom always would say, because she just needed space. And I see my wife and myself going through this right now. She get outside, please, outside. And so luckily we have a backyard here in Southern California, but there I had like acres and acres and hundreds of acres of woods surrounding me. And so natural streams and beautiful habitat. And I would go out there and spend hours out there. And that was my place. That was my respite. That was my place that filled me up and gave me a tremendous solace as a young kid. And so I want to take them outdoors today, and we're going to find some special moments and some adventure, obviously being very mindful of social distancing, but finding the appropriate and most beautiful place that is in walking distance of our home, which I think there are a few hikes that we'll be able to get to. So we're incredibly appreciative of that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting with all this stuff going on. Everyone's realizing how important it is and how much everyone's like fantasizing about, I mean, most people that I've spoken to, about having a garden and, having some land, just learning to be self-sufficient. It's really teaching people a lot and giving them a moment to just think about things, which is awesome about this whole thing. But I find it so incredible that your journey has taken you to create brands that, obviously, we used to have brands that had loyal followings, right? There was Johnson & Johnson and all these brands. The brand aspect of it was there, but just not the brand following through and creating these products that were, sunscreen that's reef safe or whatever it is, all these things that are important that people just didn't think about that they are thinking about now. So obviously with Honest, you created that. So what took you on to the CBD path? Because I really care about ingredients, and clean products are so important to me, and I'm super, super diligent about whatever I put on my body. I want it to be just high quality and the best, and that's something that I really noticed with Prima. I was so impressed by your ingredients because they really are the best. There are no fillers in there, and I just want to applaud you for that. Now talking to you, I understand why.
I appreciate that, because you are part of a generation that has grown up in and has seen the conversation and has demanded as such, and is further evolving that. Because when I was, again, early in my career, it would be hard to duck people around the globe to small artisanal makers and people who were doing it to a level of standard of care. And it's also, just because you have a beautiful ingredient doesn't mean you can do it in a way that can be standardized and tested in high quality and also scale a larger business. And so there is a tremendous, elegant balance on the business side of things, of meeting consumer demand and need, understanding your responsibility. I mean, look, your P&L is a moral document. What are you prioritizing, and how, who is the shareholder and stakeholder. Is it the investors? Is it the financial team? Is it the legal team? Who's really driving the business forward? And I, as an NGO leader, rolling into the business world, certainly with the Honest Company and now with Prima, the architecture and the foundation is so critical because it determines, as you build and as you grow and as you scale and as you welcome all those growth positives and negatives into the business, unless you've got the foundational moral compass and the value set, then it will crumble and fall very quickly. I see that with brands I see that with legacy brands, the family brands you mentioned, trying to amalgamate and chip and change and be something they aren't. It's like lipstick on that horrible saying, lipstick on a pig. It's like, it is what it is. You can't change it. And to change the core fundamental, you'd have to rewrite history. And so for me, I had an opportunity to work with this tremendous creative brand genius named Michael Cronin, who has since passed. And Michael had created phenomenal brands outside of creating the visual architecture, created the foundational brand systems that built these brands. And I felt like the idea and ideals coming together in a beautiful, synergistic way is the power of brand. And it's the power to, you see challenges across the global landscape within the systems of institutions and certainly within governments and legislative bodies. And I feel like, and I firmly believe that the power of business can be a tremendously important force. And because it coalesces people's ideas and ideals and their values and their belief in what they want and what they put on in their bodies. And we use them in these intimate times of our lives. And that's really the spiritual and the values fabric that we're all weaving together and looking to have. And so for me, as I've come into this world of cannabis, cannabis is just one of the plants that we leverage. It's really a functional plant platform that we're building here with Prima. And cannabis happens to be one of the heroes right now, but there's so many other ingredients and very thoughtfully chosen, as you said, the highest quality and the most rigorously tested and safe ingredients that we could find, because right now, especially now, where everyone is looking for that bridge between healthcare and wellness. And sometimes healthcare and the traditional pharmaceutical world, it's losing it has its very, very important place. But I would say the consumer set is losing its belief, and people want to feel empowered, and people want to have choice, and they want to feel like they have control. And the idea of preventative medicine is really, what are the core fundamentals of what is the food? What is the things that we're surrounding ourselves with in intimate times and intimate places? That is your environmental health. Environmental health is not out there. It's inside. It's close to my body. It's what's the lotion I put on my face every morning. It's the soap I use. It's the countertop spray I clean and then make my children's breakfast with. That's our environment. And that's what we can control. And so there's something beautifully empowering about that. And that's what today's consumer want. And I am uniquely and entirely, I geek out on a belief that we can control, we can optimize, we can improve our health, and we can become even stronger and better and fitter and more of ourselves and live in a more pure, safe way, because we know on the other side that our bodies hold these toxicants and chemicals. It's our body burden is what it's called. And so a baby born today has over 280 synthetic chemicals coursing through their veins at the time of birth. Right? That is inside mom. It's inside baby. And so how do we purify? How do we cleanse? How do we live in a more conscious and clean lifestyle? And that baseline now, that's starting to become baseline, which people and luckily brands are becoming more responsive, and retailers. I mean, look at Sephora and their clean beauty standard. Target has one, and they're all creating them. Chemicals policies. They have to, because they know the data is way too compelling and right, and consumers are demanding it. And so we've got the baseline of clean. That what are the things that are going to uplift and unlock and create a more advanced collective health and well-being? How are we advancing the science? And so for me, cannabinoid research I connected with it in 2009. I sit on the board of Mount Sinai, and the idea that we have this body system that regulates homeostasis and is involved with immunity and hormone balance and neurotransmission, and is this network of receptor sites on my skin and inside my body that 95% of all doctors don't talk about. Mm-hmm. They don't know it. Again, it's early day science. Medicine researchers, doctors, practicing physicians don't talk about it. They don't know about it. Google major body systems. You won't find the endocannabinoid system in there. So we are early days. Mm-hmm. So I was uniquely excited about being a messenger and a guardian and a steward of a brand new understanding of molecules that can go in that and receptor sites, and turning on and tuning in and activating our body in such a way where we can get more preventative, and we can find better balance, and we can manage the largest epidemics of our time. Like I focused on the epidemics that were impacting children, a healthy child, healthy world, cancers, autism, learning disability, or learning delays, asthma, still challenges. But if you don't also take care of the number one thing that impacts our health in one of the most significant fashions, stress. Stress is the underlying cause of all disease states. If the body's out of balance and in a state of stress, it's not going to be able to heal itself. It's not going to be able to find a pathway to healing. But no matter how much you do and how great food you eat. And so you've got to manage that very, very, very important factor. And so stress for me is obviously connected to sleep and mood modulation and immune function. It is the basic and is the basis of all health and disease. And cannabinoids manage and modulate and impact that one pivotal state so importantly well. It's so exciting, and the amount of research and data that is happening right now that's being studied. We're going to hear more about cannabinoid research and science, and the CBD is one cannabinoid. There are 120 others. Yeah, right? That is, how exciting is that?
I know. I learned about it because I am Persian, and we have saffron-based products, and saffron works with your endocannabinoid system as well. Yes. So I'm interested in.
As does black pepper and turmeric and there are other things that activate and engage that system. So it's not only that's why I step back even further and really talk about when we uplift science and nature, we uplift this idea that we're uplifting really the plant botanicals and herbals and all those things that nature is providing us, but in a very systematic way.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see how the brand develops, because at first I was thinking of Prima as when I first was introduced to the brand, you have so many body products, and I love that. But then you also have probably just as many ingestibles, if not more, right?
Yeah. So we're in three categories. We're in the premium skin category, which is really face and neck. Mm-hmm. We've got therapeutic body care, which is again rest of the body as well as the musculature and joints and ligaments. And then we are also in very experiential. And then we're in ingestibles, which we're in two different formats. We're in the supplement format as well as the CBD powder format. So
Mm-hmm.
finding different ways to get the cannabinoids inside, like bypassing the gut and the liver through a bioavailable technology that we leverage in order to get the cannabinoids deeply into the body and really connecting to or in harmony with that ECS. So yeah, the three different categories are important because, again, it's inside and on the body, and
Mm-hmm.
the way the cannabinoids are really packaged matters. And look, the consumer set. Some people just want to try the bath gem. Like, I just want to put it in my bath,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to have a great moment of relaxation, and Epsom salts and the lovely lavender is going to take me away. And then also the cannabinoids and the other oils and botanicals in there are going to deliver me some type of benefit. And that's all I want. And then you have some people who are like, I take 5 dailies and I'm really into it.
Yeah.
And it helps me feel more like me. So for instance, my wife, who in this all things, every parent, especially moms out there, are doing extreme heavy lifting. She's like, I used to take 1 to 2 dailies. Now I take 3 dailies a day. And it helps me and just give me enough of the balance and the state of groundedness and centeredness that I need. And people will find their dose and find their specific product in their own specific way.
And that's really what it's about, right? Just meeting people where they're at and what they need and how they're going to take it in and how it works in their life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how do you see, I mean, this is a time where people could really use your products the most. And I'm just curious how you see the current state of the world affecting it, because I think people, on one hand, people are more interested in taking care of their well-being, right? Taking care of themselves and their well-being, and especially with we're in a natural disaster almost, but it's a natural disaster that directly affects our immune system and our health. So It's a very unique situation as a wellness company. And then, but also, as you know, price point. I mean, your bath gem is really reasonably priced. And so you offer, so I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing it up, because it is this time, as we are all taking that big global pause, and we are finding the pillars and the points that are most salient and important in our lives. We realize that if there's an outside threat, how do we defend and how do we respond? Mm-hmm. And that is to take care of our bodies. Mm-hmm. and the bodies and the people that are most close and connected to us, our loved ones. And what are the habits? What are the physical activities? What's the mindset that's also involved in that? And then what are the tools? What are the things that we're going to bring into our lives? Again, and we have to be very choiceful. We have to choose the minimal. What I'm seeing in what I'm loving and am so thankful for is that shift of really minimalistic formulations that are going to be potent and powerful and add therapeutic value. Mm-hmm. That is the math. That is the trend. Mm-hmm. And again, beauty has its place, but can you get beauty with benefits? And can you get these things that, I want beautiful skin and tone and fine line and elasticity support and cellular integrity on my skin, but I also want it to be healthful and not cover up. Yeah. Right. It should feed you from inside. So, and this endocannabinoid system is so tremendous in just all things inflammation and again, stress response. Mm-hmm. So, the unique time of Prima and in trying to present that at a time like this, so we feel really fortunate, and we're seeing people respond in a tremendous way. It is our responsibility to be mindful of the time. I don't want to be opportunistic at all, but I want to say we are here for you. These products are here for you. The way that CBD and cannabinoids support immune function. Prima, outside of great products, we have over 100 pieces of originally scripted content to help add the level of credibility necessary to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do know the world of cannabis is sometimes domed under a veil of uncertainty or gray market or just its previous baggage. But I mean, I have tremendous reverence for that plant in all things. It's tremendous versatility.
Mm-hmm.
We leverage hemp. There's cannabis and marijuana and hemp. We leverage hemp, so it doesn't have THC, and if it does have it at 0.03 or 0.3, we take it out even further, so it's not detectable. But people really, it is our job to add this education necessary at this time in CBD, and I guess as we talked about, and what it does for stress and mood and sleep and immune function and inflammation, and how it supports that not symptoms, but systems approach is so special and incredibly great for us right now. And we're doing our best to, as we're growing and emerging into this next phase of development. We'll be 1 years old in June, and really working with our supply chain partners to try to drive costs down. I want to pass down that scaling and that volume benefit onto the consumer.
Yeah.
So I it's a premium product, and how do you price it? How do you accessibly premium to a way where everyone it's like it's an environmental and health justice conversation.
Exactly.
Everyone should have access to this, right? So I appreciate you bringing that up. We're doing our best, and more to come there for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait. So we have a lot of people who are entrepreneurs and run their own businesses or are interested in starting their own business. What do you recommend as someone who's launched several brands and been in the world of, business and wellness for a very long time? What do you recommend people right now work on? Any specific recommendations if they're building a brand? That might be invest heavily in D2C. What are some things that you recommend and how to go about them maybe during this time?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because I think you have in these times of crisis and uncertainty, you just look at 2008 and the major brands that were birthed out of that crisis, the just financial crisis, and that pales in comparison. I mean, in some respects.
Yeah.
So I believe that people are I think that the world of health and wellness and the world of responsible convenience is going to be more important than ever. I think direct to consumer, before this crisis of 80, I think the stat is 89. It still seems remarkably high to me. Like even 85% of all things are bought in a physical environment. I think that's going to shift. I want people to focus on the ways and the platforms. Like for me, I'm the biggest Etsy fan. And I believe that we have to support the small businesses and the innovators in these small cracks and reaches of the globe that are doing really, really special work, especially when it comes to sustainability and responsibility and sourcing and being mindful and conscious and considered on the durable goods of reality. Like that concept that if I buy a mug, this mug was handmade and crafted by someone, and my kids can use this, my grandkids. This is not a disposable mug. And I want to think about that, and I think there's a lot of conversation around durable goods, health and wellness, the things that are going to bring the important simple things that are going to bring us delight.
Yeah.
And I would say that just because the category looks like it's got incumbents in it doesn't mean it's ready for a resurgence and renewal. I mean, just look at what we did with the Honest Company: diapers, cleaning products, personal care, and the amount of demand for moral, values aligned companies that are going to connect with new generations of humans. This is. I mean, my children will be talking to their grandchildren about this moment.
Wow.
And right, and just
it really
think
is
about
moving.
that. Like,
yeah,
this is a century some multiple centuries event. So people will be talking about this. So there's that reboot of humanity and certainly the earth that we're even seeing right now. I mean, how tremendous is this to see how the earth is responding?
Yeah.
The air quality. I mean, if and also is reflective of, hey, humans, if you could make some proactive choices, look how positive things can turn out.
Yeah, we really do have an impact. I know it's really showing people so much.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And also, I thank you so much for your intention and what you're building. I think it's so important to have that intention and to be creating something that's good for the world and good for ourselves as individuals. And I love what you're doing and I really appreciate it. So I'm really excited to see what's in store for Prima and to watch it grow. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, what a great conversation. It was a true pleasure. If anyone wants to ever get in touch with me, I always leave my email. So it's christopher@prima.co. Please reach out. Please connect. I'd be really excited to talk to you. And since it's Earth Day and since I'm feeling generous and excited, you can use, I'll give you my code, CTG, all capitals, and then Prima, and 25% off for you today. So
great.
That'd be cool. I mean, I don't do that very often, but I feel like I'm in a generous mood.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely leave it in the show notes and send it out as well. So thank you for that. And thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you.
Thanks for the moment. I really appreciate it. And it's great to connect with you.